Where do I begin? Right. I don't even... I'm gonna probably leave all this unedited. Not gonna change anything, not gonna sugarcoat anything. But I want to say yesterday, around 2 o'clock Eastern my time, on my way from work. Well, not on my way from work, but, you know. There was an incident. I never heard about it. I didn't hear about it till I got off of work about, I want to say, almost 2 hours later. I was on my way from home, and I heard about the shooting that happened in Jacksonville, Florida. I saw the footage on my way home, actually. I didn't think it was real. I couldn't think it was real. I've seen and heard about, shootings multiple places. Would never have expected a tournament at a venue that my friends frequented back in Florida. For those who obviously don't know, I'm a Canadian. I go to the US all the time. Whenever I get the chance to, obviously, because, well, traveling was recommended by my doctor. I'm not so sure I want to do that anymore. But I probably still have to because it's for the sake of my health. But all of that aside, the first thing I wanted to do was throw my headphones the moment I heard everything. I'm not going into graphic detail, but gamers, I don't even want to say gamers. People. These are people. They lost their lives that day. That's still a lot to process. Even for me. That constantly hits home. Because I don't know about you, but as a competitor, as a guy who goes to tournaments, I feel like this is a safe haven for me. Gaming was my place to escape from a lot of the real world problems. You know, when I walk out of my day-to-day life and I step into the venue, those problems are supposed to be gone. They're not supposed to be there. For the moment I'm in there, whether it be for a couple of hours of my time or for an entire weekend, that's not supposed to be there. And it was. And I'm not there. But my friends were. My friends live in that state. My friends go to that venue. And the first thing I did was check to see if my friends were okay. And check to see if their friends were okay. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, which lifted a lot of weight off of my chest, no one was hurt out of that circle. But that doesn't change what happened. And honestly, it still bothers me. It still bothers me. It feels like if I go where I want to go, I'm not protected. Despite the protection. I'm kind of glad that I have the tournament organizers to thank who do offer security to these places. But for places like those where, you know, you wouldn't expect something like that to happen. Apparently, the GLHF bar that this took place at, this isn't a place where you would expect high security because it's also a shop. You wouldn't expect that. No one would. No one's going to say, I'm going to hire this amount of people to do this every single week or every single month. No one expects anything of that caliber to happen. Alright? I I didn't expect it to happen. And honestly, I talked about it yesterday. I wrote about it yesterday. This video is just a visual diary of sorts. A gateway into that, if you will. And I'm still shook. I was shook yesterday. I'm usually shook when I travel, and it doesn't change because I'm still shook now. I want to think about that for a moment. Because, you know, people say don't let fear get into your head. Don't let it bother you, right? I'm not scared. I've never been scared. I've never been afraid of things that'll happen to me. But the people who care about me, those people I care about, right? I generally get so shaken up by a lot of things, right? That could, like I said, I don't know if that could have ever been my friends that day. I wouldn't have been able to process it. And I still think about it because, man, a lot of the time, it's not until it hits close to home, until, you know, it bothers people. And I won't lie, things like this come and go all the time. And I'm not desensitized to it. I feel for it every single time something bad happens. But for it to hit so close to me, and I'm not there, I'm several hundred miles away from that situation. It still bothers me. It still hurts, right? That doesn't change the fact people lost their lives to something that could have never happened. Now, I say this as a, like I said before when I was writing it, I will gladly pay out my ass if it means that people will be safe. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts that I won't pay more for my venue fee. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind if 24-hour venues were me as a competitor for fighting game tournaments got shafted for the sake of security. Because that is me, right? I would rather see myself, know myself to be 100% safe. To know my friends are 100% safe. To know that the people that I don't even know yet at these tournaments, the people that casually go, or spectators, or competitors, or tournament organizers, it doesn't matter, I would pay out just to make sure that people are safe. You know? I would gladly have corners cut for a compromise. If people can be outraged, let them. Right, honestly, I honestly don't care. And I apologize for my language because I'm gonna be pretty colorful when I say this. I honestly don't give a fuck. I don't. Because I'll get really personal right now. I've lost friends to gun violence. Okay? I've lost friends to it. And not a day goes by where I can't walk by. Like, out of the sole respect, because I didn't want to be near the site where I found out my friend lost his life. Or other friends I know have lost their lives. But I still frequent the location where I last saw him before it happened. And the only thing he told me was good things are gonna come. I don't know, man. I honestly, I honestly don't know. Like, I get that a lot of people in America have their feelings about gun laws and stuff, right? A lot of people want guns banned. A lot of people don't want them banned. A lot of people honestly just want to see a decent ass policy other than the stupid ass thing that you call the Second Amendment thing to be put in place. All I gotta say about it, and I've mentioned it before, restriction and regulation. Now, you're probably thinking, what do I know about that, right? Let me tell you a little thing about restriction and regulation. Almost a decade ago in Toronto, gun crime was probably the most rampant thing. Growing up, it was the most rampant thing, and it accounted for a lot of homicides in the city. Probably one of the most dangerous places in the entire country of Canada. Hands down. But, you know, we had laws apparently that were put in place, and for the next 2.5 years straight at one point, there was nothing but stricter rules being made. Well, stricter rules being set in place and being carried out. I'll never forget the day when I saw something really brutal happen outside of my window. And it involved a weapon that was indeed a gun. That was not a Desert Eagle. It was called the Devil's Gun. It was a modified weapon that had such destructive power, and there were very few of them in the world. They took that weapon, they destroyed that weapon, and I'm glad they did. Every time I hear about, you know, gun violence and stuff in the city, it's not as big as it used to be 5, 10, 15 years ago. And it's only because of the fact that there were regulations for these guns to be even in the hands of an individual. Obviously, illegal wares are a problem, but a lot of the times, if you hear about these things, several raids have been put in place, and constant restrictions and tests have to be done to even own a handgun, to even have the permit to have a gun in this country. Well, yeah, in this country, in the city. And then I hear about Florida, right? And people are telling me, you don't know anything about the States, right? Wrong. I was in Florida for a week. And I know the whole meme about the Florida man thing, right? But for that week, it felt real, right? And I heard people talking about guns. Hell, at one point, I was taken to a gun shop, right? I held an assault rifle. And there's nothing, you know, that's legal. Why? Why is that legal? Why is it legal to just hold something in my hands? And if I asked for it, I could have had it. I was holding a weapon in my hands, and I thought to myself, cliche or not, that no person should have that much power in their hands. No citizen, no upstanding citizen, or any citizen for that matter, should have any power like that in their hands. Why would something military grade be sold? That's weird. You can't even say that's protection. That's... I don't understand, man. I don't get it. Like, there's no real way of stopping people in certain states on just getting a weapon. That's crazy to me. Yeah, I get it. Freedom, etc. Blah, blah, blah. But there's gotta be a line. There has to be. There has to be a line. Like, I can't tell anybody anything. And honestly, I don't even want to keep this dragging. I'm gonna cut it short. But I'm telling you, man, keep... If you don't want this to happen, if you're tired of it like I am, do something about it. If you're old enough, do something about it. Say something about it. I'm not going to plug anything. I'm not going to add any recommended videos or nothing like that, right? This is a personal diary kind of thing. People wanted to know about my journey as a fighting game player, and in hopes of one day that I would become a good player, or I can look at myself and tell myself I became a good player, to empower the next generation of fighting game players, and, say that nothing comes without hard work. And a lot of people will probably say, then why are you making a video like this? This video doesn't make sense. It has everything to do with that, right? Because knowing the power to make a decision is probably the best thing you could do. And if I had the power, I'd make that decision. I wouldn't give anything to have changed what may have happened yesterday. To change and undo the hurt that a lot of people suffered yesterday. And probably will continue to suffer because of how bad this was. This ain't news. This isn't a PSA. It's just how I feel. The only thing I'm gonna do is leave links in my description that go to these people, that go to helping these people. Because there's not a single person who wouldn't want this to happen to them. Sorry, I worded that wrong. There's not a single person who would want this to happen to them. And me personally, like I said, I'm not afraid. But I definitely don't want to hear. I'm not afraid about myself, but I fear for my friends. I fear for my colleagues. I fear for my acquaintances. And when this hits the gaming community, it hits so much closer to home. When it hits the gaming community, it does more to me than a lot of people think. It's the equivalent of losing family. Because when I think about the fighting community, That's my family. That's my family. You're all my family. And I wouldn't want it to happen to anybody else. I really wouldn't want it to happen to anybody else.